I used to think construction sites after hours were just empty. Quiet, maybe. A little eerie in that abandoned warehouse kind of way. But empty. I was wrong about that. Dead wrong. I worked night security for a commercial development going up on the east side. 12 stories planned. We were only at floor 7 when this happened. The developer wanted someone on site because of copper theft. Tools going missing. The usual stuff. They hired me and another guy named Tony to rotate shifts. I took nights because the pay bump was better and I figured I could study during the quiet hours. The site sat on old factory land, torn down years before. You could still see the foundation lines in some places where they hadn't excavated yet. The whole area had that industrial wasteland feel. Chain link and gravel lots and street lights that barely worked. My first week was fine. Cold, but fine. I'd do my rounds every 2 hours. Check the fence line. Make sure the equipment shed was locked. Swing my flashlight through the lower floors. Then back to the trailer to drink coffee and pretend to read. Week 2 is when I started noticing the sounds. Construction sites are never fully silent. Wind moves through the exposed floors. Metal expands and contracts. Tarps flap. You get used to it. But this was different. This was rhythmic. Like footsteps on concrete, but muffled, distant. I'd hear it around 3 in the morning, always from the upper floors. Always the same pace. I told myself it was pigeons. Or the building settling. I didn't go up to check because that wasn't the job. The job was perimeter security. Keep people out. That's it. But the sounds got closer. By week 3, I was hearing them on the 4th floor, then the 3rd. I started timing my rounds to avoid hearing them, but that didn't work because they seemed to move with me. If I went east, the sounds came from the west side. If I stayed in the trailer, they'd drift down to the 2nd floor and just stop, right at the edge of where my flashlight could reach from the ground. I should have said something. I didn't. You don't keep a security job by calling your supervisor at 4 in the morning to report ghost footsteps. Then I found the jacket. It was draped over a sawhorse on the 5th floor. I only went up there because I dropped my thermos near the main stairwell, and it rolled. When I climbed up to grab it, there it was, a canvas work jacket, faded, stained with plastered dust and something darker around the cuffs. It hadn't been there on my last round, I was sure of it. I picked it up, felt the weight of it. There was something in the pocket. I reached in and pulled out a time card, old style. The kind you punch manually. The name was smudged, but I could make out a few letters. The date was readable, though. 1973. The factory. This jacket came from the factory. I dropped it, backed away, went down to the trailer and locked the door. Told myself someone was screwing with me. Tony, maybe, or one of the day crew. A prank. That's all. But Tony didn't work pranks, and the day crew didn't have access to 50-year-old time cards. I didn't sleep that night, just sat in the trailer with every light on, watching the site through the window. Around 5 in the morning, right before dawn, I saw it. A figure on the 7th floor, just standing there in the open framework. No safety gear, no movement, just standing. I couldn't make out details. The light was wrong, but I could see the shape, the posture, the way it stood so still. It didn't even seem to breathe. I grabbed my flashlight and ran, not toward it, away, straight to my car. I sat there until the day shift arrived at 6:30. Then I went back in like nothing happened. I didn't quit. I needed the money. And part of me thought maybe I'd imagined it. Sleep deprivation. Stress. Something. The next night I brought a camera. One of those old digital ones with night vision. If something was up there, I'd have proof, evidence. Something to take to the supervisor that didn't make me sound insane. I set it up on a tripod aimed at the upper floors. Hit record. Did my rounds. Everything was quiet. No footsteps. No jacket. Nothing. When I checked the camera around midnight, the battery was dead. Full charge when I set it up. Completely drained 4 hours later. I tried again with my phone. Same thing. Dead. In 3 hours. That's when I started finding the tools. They were arranged, perfectly spaced. On the 3rd floor landing, wrenches in a row by size. Screwdrivers fanned out like playing cards. A hammer balanced on its head. Nails standing upright in a circle. No one could have done this during the day. The crew would have moved them, used them. This was fresh. This was for me. Where are you watching from? And are you watching alone? Subscribe and stay. I didn't touch them. I took pictures with my phone before it died. Then I left them exactly as they were and went back to the trailer. I called Tony, asked him if he'd been on site. He hadn't. Asked if he'd noticed anything strange on his shifts. He laughed and said the place was dead. Boring. Nothing ever happened during the day. During the day. I thought about that. Whatever this was, it only happened at night. Only when I was alone, and it was getting bolder. The 4th week is when it came down to my level. I was in the trailer doing paperwork when I heard scraping, metal on concrete, right outside. I looked through the window and saw nothing. Grabbed my flashlight, opened the door. The tool arrangement had moved. It was right outside the trailer now. Same configuration. Wrenches, screwdrivers, hammer, nails, but closer, 10 feet from my door. I scanned the site with my light. Empty. No movement. No sound. I went back inside and locked the door. Watched through the window. The tools didn't move, but I could feel something watching me. The same way you feel. Eyes on you in a crowded room. That animal sense that you're being observed. At 2 a.m, my radio crackled. We didn't use radios. It was just me on site. But I had one clipped to my belt anyway. Company policy. The static cleared for just a second. I heard breathing. Slow. Rhythmic. Then a voice. Barely a whisper. Still here. That's all it said. Then, static again. I ripped the radio off my belt and threw it across the trailer. It hit the wall and the battery popped out. The static stopped. I didn't move for the rest of the shift. Just sat in that chair with my back to the wall and my eyes on the door. When dawn broke, I was out of there. I went to the site supervisor that morning. Told him I was done. He asked why. I didn't have a good answer that wouldn't make me sound insane. So I just said it wasn't working out. He shrugged and said he'd mail my last check. Tony took over full time. I didn't warn him. I should have, but I didn't know what to say. And part of me thought maybe it was just me. Maybe I was losing it. 3 weeks later, I saw the news. There'd been an accident at the site. Night shift security guard fell from the 7th floor. Investigators said it looked like he'd gone up there during his rounds and lost his footing. No witnesses. No signs of foul play. It was Tony. I drove out there that night. Don't ask me why. I just had to see it. The site was dark, shut down pending investigation. I parked across the street and stared up at the 7th floor. There was someone standing there. Same spot I'd seen before. Same posture. Same unnatural stillness. I watched for 20 minutes. It never moved. Never shifted. Just stood there in the exposed framework, looking down at where Tony had fallen. Then it turned its head, looked right at me. Even from that distance, even in the dark, I knew it saw me. I started my car and left. I haven't been back, but sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I think about that time card. 1973. I looked up the factory after I quit, found some old news archives. There'd been an accident. A worker fell from the upper level during a night shift. They never determined how it happened. He was alone, no witnesses. The official report said accidental death, but there was a note in the file. One of the investigators mentioned that the body was found in an odd position, arms and legs arranged, perfectly spaced, like someone had posed him. I think about Tony, about how they found him. I never ask for details. I don't want to know, but I can guess. And I think about that voice on the radio. Still here. Not a threat, not a warning, just a statement of fact. It's still there, waiting, watching, looking for someone to arrange. The new site security started 2 months ago. I saw the job posting online. Good pay, night shift, easy work. I almost called to warn them. I didn't. What would I even say? That the site is haunted? That something from the old factory is still there, repeating what happened to it on anyone who stays too long? They wouldn't believe me. Just like I didn't believe it until it was too late to leave safely. You don't see it coming. That's the thing. It's so gradual, so patient. By the time you realize what's happening, you're already in too deep. You've already stayed too many nights. You've already become familiar. And it doesn't like familiar. I wonder sometimes if that guard is still alive, or if they've already found him on the 7th floor, arranged like a message no one will ever read. The demolition crew always comes in before the builders. That's standard. You can't put up new construction until you've cleared the old. I learned that my first day working demo. What I didn't learn until later is that some places don't want to be cleared. We got contracted for a mall renovation. Big job. Gut the interior, reinforce the structure, modernize everything. The place had been closed for 6 years. Bankruptcy. Failed anchor stores. The usual retail death spiral. Now some investment group wanted to turn it into mixed use. Apartments on top, shops below. I was part of the interior demo team. 15 of us. We'd go in early morning, before the main construction crews, and tear out walls, fixtures, flooring, anything that wasn't load-bearing. It was brutal work, but it paid well and the hours were consistent. The mall was massive. 3 stories, 2 wings, a central atrium with a dead fountain. Most of the storefronts were already empty. Gates pulled down, signs removed. But some places still had merchandise inside. Mannequins in the clothing stores, shelves in the bookshop. It gave the whole place this frozen feeling, like everyone just walked away mid-shift and never came back. We started on the 3rd floor, East Wing. The plan was to work our way down and across. Systematic, efficient. Our foreman, Luis, was strict about safety and stricter about staying on schedule. No wandering, no exploring. You work your section and you stay there. First week was fine. We made good progress. Tore out the food court, ripped up tile, hauled debris. The place was dusty and dark, but nothing unusual. Just another dead mall. Second week, we moved to the 2nd floor. That's when Carlos started acting off. Carlos was young, 22, strong kid, never complained, but he started taking longer breaks. Sitting in his truck during lunch instead of eating with us. When Luis asked if he was okay, Carlos just nodded and said he wasn't sleeping well. I didn't think much of it. Demo work is exhausting. Lots of guys burn out. But then I started hearing it too. Music. Faint. Like it was coming from another floor. Instrumental. The kind of generic elevator music malls used to pump through the speakers. I mentioned it to Luis. He said the sound system was disconnected. Had been for years. I must be hearing echo from outside. Traffic, something. I knew what traffic sounded like. This wasn't traffic. Third week, we were working the center section. Near the old atrium. The fountain had been drained, but you could still smell that stagnant water smell. We were pulling down drywall when Marcus found the door. It was behind a false wall in what used to be a service corridor. Solid metal, no window, no handle on our side. Just a push bar. It wasn't on any of the blueprints Luis had. We radioed down to the site manager. He came up, looked at it, checked his files. Nothing. No record of what was behind it. He told us to leave it. We weren't authorized to breach anything structural. Someone from the investment group would have to approve access. We moved on. But Carlos didn't move on. I caught him standing in front of that door during break, just staring at it. When I asked what he was doing, he said he could hear something. Humming. Mechanical. Like ventilation. I listened. Didn't hear anything. Told him to get back to work. That night, Carlos didn't show up for his shift. Luis called him. No answer. We worked shorthanded. Carlos didn't show up the next day either. Or the day after that. Luis finally drove to his apartment. No one home. Landlord said he hadn't seen him in 2 days. We reported it to the site manager. He filed something with the main office. Told us to keep working. People quit demo jobs all the time. Walk off without notice. It happens. But Carlos wouldn't do that. He needed the money. He had a kid on the way. He wouldn't just disappear. We kept working. 4th week we finished the 2nd floor and started on the 1st, the main level. This was the biggest area. Widest storefronts. Most debris. We were supposed to spend 3 weeks here. We lasted 4 days. It started with the mannequins. Someone kept moving them. We'd leave a store cleared, come back the next morning, and they'd be repositioned, facing different directions. Clustered together. Once we found 6 of them arranged in a circle in the middle of an empty shop. Arms touching, heads tilted the same angle. Luis blamed it on night security. Said they were screwing with us. But the security company swore no one was entering the building after we left. Doors were locked, alarms were set, no breaches. Then Marcus started seeing Carlos. Said he spotted him on the 3rd floor, walking through the food court. I went up with Marcus to check. No one there. Marcus insisted he saw him. Same jacket. Same build. I told him he was tired. Seeing things. He didn't argue, but I could tell he didn't believe me. 2 days later, I saw him too. Not Carlos. Someone else. A figure in one of the storefronts. Just standing behind the security gate, watching us work. I stopped, stared. The figure didn't move. I called over to Luis. By the time he looked, it was gone. He told me to take a break, drink some water. The dust was getting to everyone, but it wasn't the dust, and it wasn't fatigue. Something was in there with us. Something that didn't want us tearing the place apart. The music got louder. We all heard it now. Same instrumental loop, playing from nowhere. It would start around 10 in the morning and run until we left at 6. Sometimes it would cut out mid-song, then restart hours later from the exact same point. Luis reported it to the site manager. The manager sent an electrician to check the wiring. The electrician confirmed the PA system was completely dead. No power, no signal, couldn't be producing sound. We heard it. Anyway, fifth week, the crew started to shrink. 2 guys quit outright, said the job wasn't worth it. 3 more called in sick and never came back. We were down to 8. Luis pushed the remaining crew harder. Longer shifts. Weekend work. We needed to stay on schedule, or the contract would penalize us. That's when I found Carlos's jacket. It was in the atrium, draped over the edge of the fountain. Same one he'd been wearing the day he disappeared. I picked it up, checked the pockets. His phone was inside, dead battery, but it was his. I recognized the cracked screen protector. I showed Luis. He took it, said he'd give it to the site manager. We kept working, but I kept thinking about where I found it. The fountain, dead center of the building. We hadn't worked that area yet. Carlos had no reason to be there. And if he'd left his jacket behind, where was he? That night I stayed late, told Luis I wanted to finish my section. He left with the others around 6. I waited until I heard the vehicles pull away. Then I went to the atrium. The fountain was dry. Cracked tile. Oxidized fixtures. I climbed down into the basin. Looked around. At the far end, near the drain, I saw marks in the dust. Drag marks. Recent. Leading toward a service access panel. I pried the panel open. It led to a maintenance crawl space. Dark. Narrow. I turned on my phone light and crawled in. The space opened up into a sub-level. I didn't know the mall had a sub-level. It wasn't on any of the plans. Just a long concrete corridor with pipes running along the ceiling. Doors on both sides. All closed. I walked down the corridor, checking doors. Most were locked, but one at the end was open. Just a crack. I pushed it wider. The smell hit me first. Decay. Sweet and thick. Then I saw them. Mannequins. Dozens of them. Piled in the center of the room. And on top of the pile, partially buried, was Carlos. He wasn't moving. His eyes were open, staring. His skin was gray. He'd been dead for weeks. I backed out, ran, got to the exit, and called the police. They came, investigated, found Carlos. The coroner said he'd been dead at least 10 days. Cause of death was exposure, dehydration. He'd been trapped down there and couldn't get out. But that didn't make sense. The door was open. He could have left, unless something kept him there. The site shut down. Investigation, OSHA, the whole thing. We all gave statements. No one could explain how Carlos ended up in a sub-level that didn't officially exist, or why he didn't try to escape, or who moved the mannequins. They reopened the site a month later. New crew, full safety audit, increased supervision. I didn't go back. None of the original crew did. But I still think about that sub-level. About the door behind the false wall on the second floor. About the music that played from a dead PA system. I think the mall didn't want to die. And when we started tearing it apart, it defended itself the only way it knew how. It took one of us, kept him, added him to its collection. And I think if we'd kept working, if we'd finished the job, it would have taken more. One by one. Until the crew was gone and the mall was left alone again. Still, silent, waiting for the next group that thought they could tear it down. I heard they finished the renovation 6 months ago. The apartments are occupied now. The shops are open. People walk through that atrium every day. They eat at the restaurants, shop at the stores. They have no idea what's beneath them. What's still down there in that sub-level that doesn't exist on any blueprint. But sometimes I wonder if they hear it. That faint music, that endless loop, playing from speakers that aren't connected to anything. And I wonder if Anyone's gone looking for where it's coming from. If they've found that service panel, if they've crawled through that maintenance space and opened that door at the end of the corridor. And I wonder what they found inside. If the mannequins are still there, if Carlos is still there, or if the collection has grown. The bridge project was supposed to be simple. Resurface the deck, replace expansion joints, reinforce the supports. 18 months. Union job. Good pay. I signed on as a structural welder. Night crew. We worked 10 at night to 6 in the morning to avoid traffic disruption. The bridge was old, built in the 60s. 2 lanes each direction over a river valley. Not a busy crossing, but important enough that the state wanted it maintained. Our crew was small, maybe 20 guys total. Welders, iron workers, engineers. We had lights rigged the whole length. Generators, safety nets, everything by the book. First month went smooth. We were ahead of schedule. The work was straightforward. Cut out the old metal. Weld in the new. Check the integrity. Move to the next section. Repetitive, but steady. Second month, the engineer started flagging inconsistencies. Measurements were off. Not by much. Millimeters. But enough that it threw off the alignment. He checked his instruments. Recalibrated. Ran the numbers again. Still off. He blamed thermal expansion. Temperature swings between day and night. We adjusted our process. Worked in smaller sections. It helped, but didn't fix it completely. Third month, we started finding the marks. Scratches on the beams. Deep. Like someone had taken a grinder to the metal. But they weren't random. They were deliberate. Patterns. Lines. Almost like writing, but not in any language I recognized. Our foreman reported it to the state inspector. Inspector came out, looked at the marks, said they were probably old, from the original construction. Decades of weathering made them more visible. We were to document them and keep working. But I'd been working that section for weeks. Those marks weren't there before. They were fresh. The metal around them was bright, newly exposed. Someone was making them while we worked. I started paying attention, watching the crew, trying to figure out who had access to a grinder during shifts. But everyone was accounted for, and the marks kept appearing in places we'd already finished. Places that were sealed off, behind barriers. Fourth month, we lost Eddie. He was on the south side crew, working an overnight just like the rest of us. Around 3 in the morning, he radioed that he was taking a break, walking back to the equipment trailer. No one thought anything of it. He never made it to the trailer. We found his hard hat near the edge of the deck. His safety harness was still clipped to the rail line, but Eddie was gone. Search crews combed the valley below, used dogs. Divers checked the river. Nothing. No body. No evidence he'd fallen. Just gone. The project shut down for a week. Investigations. Interviews. OSHA crawled over every inch of the site. They couldn't find a cause. No safety violation. No structural failure. Eddie had just vanished. We went back to work with new protocols. Buddy system. No one works alone. Check-ins every 30 minutes. Increased lighting. More cameras. It didn't help. 5th month, the accident started. Minor at first. Tools going missing. Replaced parts failing prematurely. Welding equipment malfunctioning. Then it escalated. A cable snapped during a lift. No one was hurt, but the load dropped 60 feet into the valley. Investigation showed the cable had been damaged. Cut halfway through. Deliberately. Security footage showed nothing. Whoever was sabotaging us knew where the cameras were and how to avoid them. The crew started talking, saying the bridge was cursed, that we shouldn't be working on it. Some of the older guys remembered stories. A suicide back in the 80s. A worker who jumped during construction. They never found his body either. The foreman shut down the talk, said it was superstition. We were professionals. We'd finish the job. But even he started to look worried. 6th month, I was working alone on a section near the center span. My partner had called in sick. The foreman said I could handle it. Just finish the weld joints and pack up. Simple work. I'd be done in 2 hours. I set up my gear. Started welding. The noise and the light from the arc made it hard to notice anything else. I was focused. In the zone. Then I felt it. That sensation of being watched. I stopped. Lifted my hood. Looked around. There was someone standing at the far end of the deck, just outside the light. I couldn't make out details, just a silhouette, standing perfectly still. I called out, asked who was there. No response. I grabbed my flashlight, aimed it down the deck. The beam caught nothing. No one there. I went back to welding. Told myself I was tired, seeing things. But I couldn't shake the feeling. I worked faster. Wanted to get done and get out. I finished the last joint. Started packing my gear. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Metal on metal. Coming from the underside of the bridge. I froze. Listened. The footsteps were slow. Methodical. Moving along the support beams beneath me. I walked to the edge. Looked down. The safety lights illuminated the upper structure, but below that was darkness. The footsteps stopped. I waited. Nothing. Just the sound of wind through the valley and the hum of the generators. I packed up fast. Radioed the foreman that I was done. Headed back to the equipment trailer. As I walked, I kept looking over my shoulder, expecting to see someone following. No one there, but I could feel it. Eyes on my back, watching every step. I didn't work alone again after that. I made sure of it, even if it meant waiting for someone else to finish their section before starting mine. I wasn't going to end up like Eddie. 7th month, we found the writing. Real writing this time. Scratched into the inside of a support beam. Words. English. Still falling. Has not of deceive. Weed. 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 The engineer documented it, took photos, sent them to the state. They said it was probably a prank. But it wasn't old. The metal was fresh cut. And the location was wrong. The beam was 30 feet off the deck, inside a hollow section. No one had any reason to be in there. And the access was welded shut, had been for weeks. The foreman held a meeting, said anyone caught vandalizing the structure would be fired and prosecuted. Everyone denied involvement. The foreman didn't push it, but I could see it in his face. He knew something was wrong. He just didn't know what to do about it. 8th month, the night crew started to shrink. Guys quit, transferred to other projects, took medical leave. We were down to 12, then 10. The foreman brought in replacements, but they didn't last. Something about the bridge got to people, made them uneasy. They'd work a week and find an excuse to leave. I thought about quitting every day, but I needed the money, and part of me wanted to see it through, to finish what we started, prove that whatever was happening couldn't beat us. That was stupid. I know that now. 9th month, we were working the final section. Almost done. Just a few more weeks and the project would be complete. That's when I found the shoe. Eddie's shoe. It was sitting on top of a crossbeam, placed carefully, not like it had fallen, like someone had set it there. I radioed the foreman. He came over. looked at it, recognized it. Same brand Eddie wore, same size. He bagged it, didn't say anything, just took it and walked away. That night I heard the footsteps again. Louder this time, closer. I wasn't alone. 3 other guys were working nearby. They heard it too. We all stopped, listened. The footsteps were coming from above, on the deck, moving toward us. We looked up, saw nothing, but the sound was clear. Boot steps, heavy, deliberate. They stopped right above where we were working. We waited. No one moved. Then we heard it. A voice, faint, like someone calling from far away. Still falling. Same words from the beam, but spoken now. Clear enough that we all heard it. We packed up. Left. Didn't finish the section. Went straight to the foreman. Told him what happened. He didn't argue. Sent everyone home. Said we'd regroup in the morning. But there was no morning regroup. The state pulled the contract. Project suspended pending investigation. Something about structural concerns. They brought in a different crew to finish. Daytime work only. We got paid out. No explanation. Just a check and a termination notice. I heard later that the new crew finished in 3 weeks. No problems. No incidents. Whatever was happening only happened at night. Only happened to us. I drove by the bridge last month. Looks good. Fresh surface, new paint. You'd never know anything was wrong. But I know Eddie's still down there. In the valley. Or under the bridge. Somewhere. Still falling. Still calling out. And I know that every night when the traffic stops and the bridge goes quiet, he's still walking those beams. Still looking for a way back up. And I think about that shoe. About how it got up there. About who placed it. About what it means that Eddie's still around. Still trying to tell us something. I don't cross that bridge anymore. I take the long way. Add an extra 20 minutes to my drive. It's worth it. Because I know what's waiting there in the dark. And I know it's not done. It's just patient. Waiting for the next crew. The next project. The next person who stays too long and listens too closely. Still falling. That's what it said. Not fell, falling. Present tense. Like it never stops. Like he's trapped in that moment forever. Dropping through the dark. Waiting to hit bottom. But never quite getting there. I think that's the worst part. Not that he's dead, but that he's still dying. Over and over. And there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. I looked into the bridge's history after I left. Really dug into it. Found records going back to the original construction in '64. And I found something. A pattern. Every major renovation. Every significant repair project. Someone disappears. Not every time, but often enough that it's not coincidence. 67. Expansion work. A welder named Thomas vanished during a night shift. Hard hat found on the deck. 79. Structural assessment. An engineer went to inspect the underside. Never came back up. 88. The suicide everyone talked about. But when I read the actual reports, the details didn't line up. The jumper was a worker. On site. Alone. And witnesses from the day crew said he seemed fine. Happy, even. Talking about his weekend plans. Then the night shift started and he was just gone. They found him in the river 3 days later, but the coroner's report noted inconsistencies with a standard jump. The injuries were wrong. The position was wrong. 93. Repaving project. A flagman. Last seen walking the deck at 2 in the morning. Hard hat and vest found. Body never recovered. 2006. Joint replacement. A surveyor disappeared while taking measurements. His equipment was found at the center span, perfectly arranged, like he'd set it down carefully and walked away. Except there was nowhere to walk to. The bridge was blocked off at both ends. And now Eddie. Same pattern, same location, same impossible circumstances. The bridge takes someone every time we try to fix it, like it's demanding payment for the maintenance, a life for every improvement. And it's not random, it's always night shift. Always someone working alone or separated from the group, always near the center span. I started thinking about those marks we found, the scratches that looked like writing. I went back through my photos, enhanced them, tried to make sense of the patterns, and I saw it. Names. Carved into the metal. Thomas, the engineer from '79, the jumper from '88, the flagman, the surveyor, Eddie. All of them. Carved into the support beams. All in that same fresh metal. Like the bridge was keeping a record, marking its collection. I showed the photos to the foreman. He looked at them for a long time, didn't say anything, just handed them back and told me to delete them. Said it wouldn't help anyone. The project was over. We got paid. Best to move on. But I couldn't move on, because I kept thinking about what happens next. The bridge is 40 years old now. In another 10 years, it'll need more work. Major work. And when that crew shows up, when they start cutting and welding and reinforcing, the bridge is going to want payment again. And I think about the day crew that finished our project, how they worked 3 weeks with no problems, how they went home every night and came back the next morning, and everything was fine. Because the bridge doesn't want them. It only wants the night workers. The ones who stay when it's dark, when the traffic stops, when it's just you and the bridge and the valley below. I think the bridge is alive in some way. Not alive like we understand it, but aware, patient, old enough to have developed something like consciousness, and it knows what it needs. It knows that every few years, someone will come to fix it, to keep it standing, and it's learned how to take payment for that service. Eddie knew something was wrong. I'm sure of it now. That's why he tried to leave. That's why he was walking back to the trailer. But the bridge wouldn't let him. It had already chosen him, already marked him. The shoe we found wasn't a clue. It was a trophy, placed where we'd find it. A reminder that the bridge always gets what it wants. I still have nightmares about that voice. Still falling. I hear it when I'm trying to sleep, when I'm alone. Always the same 2 words, and I know what it means now. It means Eddie's still there, still trapped in that moment. The bridge didn't just take his life, it took his death too. Froze him in the worst moment, made it eternal. That's what it does to all of them. All the names carved into the beams. They're still there, still falling, or drowning, or dying in whatever way the bridge took them, trapped forever in the structure, woven into the metal, part of the bridge now, and the bridge gets stronger every time. Every life it takes adds to it, makes it more aware, more hungry. I think eventually it won't wait for renovations. It'll start taking anyone who crosses it. Late-night drivers, people walking across after dark. It'll reach a point where it doesn't need an excuse anymore. But that's years away, maybe decades. For now, it's patient. It waits for the work crews, for people like me and Eddie. People who think they're just doing a job, who don't realize they're making a bargain they can't back out of. I got a call last week. Different bridge, different state. Same kind of project, night shift structural welding. The pay was incredible, Double what I made on the last job. I almost said yes. Almost convinced myself that it was just that one bridge, that other bridges are fine, that I was being paranoid. But then I remembered Eddie's shoe, sitting on that beam, placed so carefully, and I remembered the voice, still falling. I turned the job down, told them I was leaving the industry. They offered more money. I hung up, because I know now what I didn't know before. Every bridge has a history. Every structure that spans a gap, that hangs over empty space, that defies gravity and time and decay. They all take something from us. Maybe not lives, but something. Our time, our labor, our faith, that we can build something and it'll stay built. Some bridges just take more than others. Some bridges are hungry. And once you've worked on one, once you've felt that presence watching you in the dark, you can never look at them the same way again. I drive across bridges every day. Everyone does. We don't think about it. We just trust that they'll hold, that someone built them right, that someone maintains them, that they're safe. But late at night, when I'm crossing one and there's no other traffic, and it's just me and the span and the empty air below, I think about Eddie, about Thomas, about all the others whose names are carved into beams where no one will ever see them. And I drive a little faster. Keep my eyes forward. Don't look at the support structure. Don't wonder what's underneath. Don't think about who might be down there, still falling, still waiting, still part of the bridge that killed them. Because that's the truth no one wants to accept. These structures we build to connect us, to make our lives easier, to let us cross distances we couldn't cross on our own. They're not passive. They're not just metal and concrete. They remember, they learn, they hunger. And sometimes, when we're not careful, when we stay too long in the dark places underneath them, they feed. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more stories.